just absolutely beautiful. Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be talking about The Paper Menagerie and Other Stories by Ken Liu. And oh my gosh, was this quite the ride. So I'd heard really good things about the title short story and about Ken Liu's short stories in general, and so I'd been meaning to try this for a while, and then finally got to it, did this as a readathon prompt this month. And this started a little hit or miss for me. Some of the early ones were kind of different. I was getting used to it. You know, there was a short story that's kind of just like, you know, doing the whole kind of like, you know, Google / assistant things like listening to you and marketing, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, it's not the most original or anything. But the further we got in, just the deeper and the better. Both the stories that felt like they had a lot of personal feelings behind them and just the really interesting kind of sci-fi explorations. This is a mix of sort of sci-fi fantasy elements with definitely, I would say, some historical fiction kind of elements in there as well. There are a lot of stories that just feel deeply personal as it is dealing with the history of China, Japan, of other countries there, and also some of it looking at kind of alternate history as well, and just the amount of emotion and detail and the things that Ken Liu makes you feel here are just absolutely stunning. Like I said, I didn't love every single story, but the ones that just really hit you made this such an easy 5 out of 5 stars. A couple I wanted to mention, I stopped writing them down because the ends of this book, or like the last several, were all just fantastic. But one of the first ones that really stood out to me was called The Literomancer, and it was kind of a like I said, almost historical fiction kind of element about a girl who, with her family, is stationed overseas, and they're from America, and she meets this kindly old man who and is like talking to him, and he's kind of explaining some things about culture, and of course things don't go the best when it turns out that he originally came from the communist part of the country, and things kind of go from there. And it's one where you can really see exactly where it's going to go, but it just it still gets you. I do have to, of course, talk about the Paper Menagerie as well, and the Paper Menagerie was specifically, that was about basically, there's a woman who is a mail order bride from China to a man in the U.S., and she moves there, and then when they have a son, she makes him little paper animals, and he kind of like imagines them as alive, and that's what we're looking at here. But then the impetus of the story is essentially as he grows up and starts to be upset that, you know, his mother doesn't speak very good English, that, you know, other families, other kids will talk constantly about her in negative ways and kind of rebelling against the idea of his mother being Chinese, basically. And I have to say, I don't know that I've ever had the ending of any story, let alone, I mean, this is such a short story, just like hit as hard as this one. It is just an absolute emotional gut punch. And even if you don't read the whole book, checking out the Paper Menagerie, I think absolutely worth it, although I really do recommend the whole book as well. There were also, on the sci-fi side, several just really unique looks, and a lot of the themes were kind of looking at the origins of life. Kind of, there were some stories that were like, you know, leaving the planet because things have gone wrong, and exploring. And then also just the idea of, you know, immortality is also something that is kind of discussed and looked at in some of these. And there were a few stories that had kind of similar themes, but just went about it in such a unique way. And once again, just the fact that he's able to really just use this, all of these different short stories are exploring ideas and themes that he wants to explore and that he wants to talk about and communicate, and so many unique ways where it's done. There's also, like I said, in general, there are a few that talk about kind of how life originates. And there's one story, and I can't remember the name of it because, like I said, I stopped writing these down. But there's one story where it's people are coming from Earth, and they're trying to get basically to another planet because they need to leave Earth, and then they have to keep making these decisions on what they will do because it's on Earth they discovered a way basically to make people immortal, but the shuttle is set up specifically only to have enough resources for these people as they're needed over the generations. And so if all of the adults on the shuttle were to do this procedure and basically be immortal, the resources wouldn't last to get where they're going. So you have that kind of set up, and then it's looking at these people who are here, and they're kind of, they're stuck in just where they are now, but around them technology is advancing and changing, and so each time they kind of reach the next stage, it's seeing what's changed and having a new kind of question of what they should be doing in the situation or what's the right answer to these really, really complex questions. And that was another one that I just immensely enjoyed. Like I said, there are a lot of stories in here. I was trying to see if it has... So... 2, 3, 4, 5, 6... I guess looking at this, there are only technically 15 stories. I felt like it was more. Some of them are longer, some of them are shorter. But just absolutely, like I said, beautiful. I do feel like the stories that were more focused on kind of talking about Asian history, there was a lot of China, Japan, and some other things like that. A lot of those hit the hardest, and I think honestly because it's coming from Ken Liu and from his own experiences, history, and emotions, and so those hit. But like I said, even the sci-fi ones really just did a great job exploring ideas. I did find out he's got another short story collection, which I think is primarily sci-fi, which I will probably be checking out just because this was so good. I did do some of the audio for this one as well, which is on script. And the narration was also very good for this, I will note as well. And I just felt like I got through really quick. This is it's a pretty long, this is, for a short story collection, this is almost 450 pages. And just, like I said, worth every page of it. Not every story is perfect or great, but usually the ones that are kind of are pretty short, and then the ones that are just so good will just blow you away. So like I said, definitely recommend this. Just one of the most beautiful collection of stories I've read. I am not normally a short story person. I typically don't tend to like short stories as much because I feel like it's hard to do a short story justice. And I've said this before as well. With short stories or even sometimes novellas, you have to rush so fast to get to what you want to do, and that you have to kind of leave things out. And so I do have to just absolutely give props to Ken Liu for putting together so many different masterpiece stories in here that are just wonderful and moving in such a short amount of time. So not easy to do, and great respect to him for that. So really, those are my thoughts on the Paper Menagerie and other stories by Ken Liu. Let me know if you have read this one and your thoughts on it, or if you've got a favorite story out of it as well. Always interested to see that kind of thing in the comments. Make sure to give the video a like if you enjoyed it. Check the link in the description as always for the Wizardly Do It Discord if you want to chat books, whether this book, other books, any books, really anything at all. It is a lot of fun and we'd love to have you. And of course, if you enjoy my content, make sure to subscribe.